Thanks for joining me. So I'm super excited to chat with you about the corporate experiences market. But first, I have something I really want to say. Travelers aren't everything. Sorry, Douglas. I know they're a huge part of what we are here for and what we want to talk about, but I want to chat with you about something much closer to home, businesses and their employees. So before we get into all that, I want to add some context as to why this opportunity is growing so quickly. So the way we think about work is changing. There's been a shift in our relationship to our work, from separation to integration. So 80s and before, you had full-on personal and work selves, right? You kept them separate at all costs. But then iPhones and social media started happening, and we began connecting a lot closer to each other. And it was difficult to keep that separation. So having a balance between the two selves was ideal. Fast forward to today, and we're more connected than ever, and our work and personal selves are totally fluid and integrated. So what does this actually mean? What people want from work has changed, and what we expect from our employers has also changed. We want purpose, not just a paycheck. We want personal growth over balance, and we want meaningful relationships, not just coworkers to chat around the water cooler with. Work should be personal, a part of who we are. And so we have this new need to support the whole self of our employees. And so work is just one part of our identity, and that includes passions, family, expression. All of it rolls up into the whole self. And so we're seeing companies now compete to offer the best employee experience by vowing to invest in the whole self of their employees and their values. So let's talk about what it looks like when we're not doing that. Who in the room has ever been recognized by your company, super well-intentioned, for doing a great job, hitting a milestone, something like that, and you got a really exciting email like you see up on the screen? My friend Shannon shared that with me, that ultimately led you to an online catalog of really cool things like a Dyson vacuum, or maybe 12% off at the local movie theater, or my all-time favorite, a signed baseball by your company's CEO. Who's had that before? Yeah, feels really good, really personal, right? Not so much. So I want to break down just a couple of factors in the email itself that kind of align with how transactional people programs are not cutting it anymore. So first of all, look at the email. Does this look like a celebration at all? It looks like spam. I wouldn't click these links. No way. Number two, there's actually no nod to an achievement or a milestone. So Shannon has no idea why she's being celebrated or what she should connect this reward to in the work context. And then my personal favorite, it's painful. If she didn't already feel like a bit of a cog in the machine, her employee SKU number is listed at the bottom of the email, telling her, you are our product. Subconsciously, of course, you are our product. You're a number. Here's your prize. And it also says, we don't really care if you like it. You can swap it by following this link. Not great. So all of this combined, the integration, the transactional nature of work, shifting into something more meaningful, is really well summarized by this thought leader, Simon Sinek. He says, customers will never love a company until employees love it first. All right, this is really good news. This change in mentality has led to a transformation, like I mentioned, transactional to meaningful. And so companies are now pouring investments and building people programs that support their employees' whole self and their values. And what is it that the largest generation in the workforce, millennials, value the most? Say it with me. Experiences! Yes, that's a win for us because they need you. You're the experience experts. Okay, so now I want to jump in. For anybody that doesn't have experience with this, how can you get a piece of that investment? Number one, find your fit, right? So look at your current offerings and activities and figure out what you can offer in the corporate space and what you might need to tweak. So you want to look at core inclusions. So what is always included and delivered no matter what to make your experience a hit? Group size. What's the minimum? What's the maximum? What's the ideal? Location. Does it have to be hosted at your location? Can you show up on-site for retreats? Can you partner with third-party venues? These are the kinds of questions that will come up. Add-ons, so can you take an existing experience and add food, beverage, photos, upgrades of any kind? This will help make it feel more personal and also add that flexibility for pricing. And then pricing in general, so is it per head? Is it fixed? Is there an increase that needs to take place from your current pricing? The answer is yes. Your corporate bookings are typically going to be private and at a higher price. All right, so that's the what. So what about the where in the corporate landscape? There's so many different types of people programs, so I'm going to keep it high level. These are the most important. These are sort of the umbrella subjects, if you will. So you have team bonding. That's going to be team events, bigger groups, smaller groups, celebratory, gathering of sorts. You can see some examples there. Wellness. This is an industry all on its own. I could do a whole talk about how this industry is really awesome for experienced operators. But this is basically anything that helps condition the mind or the body. Growth, learning and development. Again, I could do a whole nother talk on this alone. This is where you're learning something new or you're leveling up a skill. And then volunteering. A little more niche, but really, really big, really impactful. Millennials, all the new kids on the block, they want to give back. They want to do meaningful things as a team. So if you do have access or partnership with like nonprofits in your area, it might be worth looking into. All right, so we've got the what, we've got the where, now let's talk about the who. So remember, you're not selling to employees. You're selling to program admins at the companies. So I wanted to give just a little guideline. I'm not going to read through all of this, but it's basically broken down by size of company and the titles you might see that you might be working with. Main thing you need to take away from this is the language. Don't get too caught up with like head of, director, manager. Look for people, HR, which is human resources, culture, talent, rewards. The bigger the company, the more diverse the titles will be and the more specific. And then the smaller the companies are, the more access you will have to like all the different titles, because as a startup, there's lots of hats, everybody's doing everything. And really important note, don't forget about them because they are funded, right? Make sure they're funded. They're funded and they want to spend their money on company culture to be a culture-first organization, right? To keep up with all this competitive employee experience building. And then I also encourage you to do some research. Look up companies in your area and see what the career pages are listing for employees to try to attract talent. And then you can slide in a little easier. All right, and then quick tip on selling to admins. Transparency is key, right? They want it straight. They want to know pricing, inclusions, and deliverables. Give it to them straight. The most important things they care about, awesome experience for their team, the right value for the right budget. They're working with a budget. And then the least logistical effort on their ends. They've got lots of stuff to do. They're busy. And they really just want to hand it off to you, if you will. OK, good news, OTA lovers. There are also corporate OTAs that you can partner with for your distribution here. Kapow, Blueboard, these are more like diverse, bigger, like widespread options. But then these actually, what I'm seeing, they're really niche, either by location or by experience type. So check them out, see what works in your area. I would just do a search of like team events in your city, and they should come up. Also work with local hotels and also concierge services if you can. Just send them a one-pager so they know you're open for business. All right, winning the business. Let's talk about actually getting the deals. So really important, if you take nothing else away from today, the way to get started is to have a page dedicated to your corporate services on your site. You need to grab the right attention. So again, having a page does that. Compelling photos of your experience always helps. Having faces is usually pretty effective. Have an inquiry form, even if it's just a Google form. It doesn't need to be fancy. And then as you go along to build credibility, have client logos, testimonials, and super importantly, list the corporate goal or deliverable that your experience is going to provide. That's going to build confidence and make it really easy for the admin to say, yes, this is what I'm looking for. Let's look at an example. This is a 5-person DJ school in San Francisco that gets tons of corporate business. They're one of our providers. Look at their website. Super straightforward. Corporate team building, done. Click. Corporate team building, this is what they do. They provide equipment, light beverages, some snacks. Look at those amazing logos. Look at who they're working with. 5-people company doing DJ lessons. Pretty impressive. Super simple. This would take less than a day to get added to your site. And every day that you don't have it is a day you could be missing out on admins who are searching right now for the next great team event, the next great reward. OK, last part, your why. So why do you want to share your activities with the corporate space? Why do you think it's important that the local businesses take part in your activity? There's lots and lots and lots of lines to draw between corporate deliverables or goals, which you'll see in the orange, and different experiences, all kinds of different experiences. There is always a way to draw a line, I promise. I will help you. You can find me, and we'll talk about it. But I'll do a few examples. So building trust could be a rock climbing excursion, either for an individual or a team. Celebration could be a sports event, tickets to a game. Competition could be a cooking class where there's a chop challenge or something like that. And then my personal favorite, translatable skills. So stand-up comedy lesson might not sound very relevant in business to an engineering team or to a team of managers, but you have to have courage. You have to be vulnerable on stage. You have to read the room. You have to be a good speaker. You have to have confidence. These are things that translate into the business world very directly. And if you draw that line on your dedicated page, it makes it easy to say yes. So once you have your why, you're pretty much good to go. In review, number 1, find your fit. How can your existing experiences transform to achieve a corporate goal? Reach your target. Do a search on LinkedIn. Check out the local businesses. See what they're up to for employee engagement and retention. Selling to admins, transparency, the best. Give them all the details and be timely. They're usually in a rush. You being timely in your response could be the difference from getting the deal and getting skipped over for someone else. Winning the business. Build trust online and add logos as you go and testimonials. And then lastly, deliver a magical experience. You don't need my advice on that. You're the experts there. But if I can, I will suggest a couple more things before I close. Get feedback every single time. If you're not already getting feedback from even your regular customers, start doing that now. Use their feedback to iterate what you're offering. Change it up every time. And don't worry about poor feedback. That's actually the best feedback because that's what's going to help you grow the quickest. And have fun. We all know this. That's why we're here at Arrival, the funnest conference ever. Have fun with it. Change it up. See what you can do. I know I said travelers aren't everything, and I agree, still. But I can promise you that while the market isn't quite as big as travel, it's growing like crazy. And this is a chance for you to bring better referrals, better word-of-mouth marketing, and build relationships with the business leaders in your area who have a lot of influence and will bring their friends, bring their families back, and support you as you continue to grow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Arielle.
You're welcome.
So I got the sense from, as you were describing kind of the product and the market and all the components, like the add-ons, I kind of felt like, boy, does this have to be like a custom product experience every single time? Or, I'd like to have a corporate product, boom, sell it, scale it, kind of wash and repeat. I mean, do I have to do this custom, or are there repeatable products?
Great question. So in the first phase where you're finding your fit, you want to find those core deliverables. If your core deliverable is your entire deliverable, that's fine. You don't have to have the personalization of add-ons and extras and go crazy with venues. Do what you can to get started, and then build up from there as revenue and profit comes in. But absolutely not. You don't have to be 100% custom every time. That would be team events. You can totally plug teams into your existing offering, or individuals who are getting, say, a reward for their anniversary at the company.
So we also spend a lot of time at Arrival with thinking about the dynamics of our customers and doing research, and I'm sure the companies here, we've heard it on stage. Oh, my customers are this, my customers are that. Typically the context is that leisure traveler. So when I'm a leisure traveler doing an experience, say with my family, I'm very different than if I'm having an experience with my colleagues. So it's the experience, the dynamics are different. What do I need to think about with that? I've got a corporate group. What are the dynamics there? How would I have to think about adjusting my product for the leisure traveler versus that corporate or kind of team context?
Great question. I will say it varies a little bit based on the deliverable or the goal, right? If you're trying to build trust, it's going to be a little bit different than if you're trying to celebrate as a team. But if I could give some advice, I guess I would say you're facilitating meaningful relationships. That's pretty much the goal of corporate experiences, is to strengthen bonds and level up skills. So if you can get more, it depends on your experience too. If you can learn like a trade or a new skill with your experience, focus more on that and dive into that a little bit more for your locals versus the travelers. Show them the behind the scenes, like they're gonna be really interested in that. And if it's a celebration, it shouldn't be too different other than, again, focus on those relationships between the participants. Since they know each other, that's why they're there, they wanna bond, and like that will carry your event's impact a lot further through the company.
And then if I'm working with OTAs in this space, so the corporate experience OTAs, what should I expect in terms of economics, commercial agreements? What does that look like?
Good question. I can't speak for everybody, but what I can say is it'll be probably a much lower rate of either commission or net rate to be a provider, and there's typically, what I've seen, no other financial costs. You don't have like some tech arrangement or like service fee or anything like that. It's basically like, we send you business, you give us a slice, like really straightforward.
And then just like one last question. So to me, it seems one really interesting opportunity in this space is, we're in our market, there are businesses, everywhere. A lot of them probably are not using, in fact, most are not using these OTAs. Some of the companies you kind of put up there, and I think about kind of Blueboard, for example. I think of kind of larger, kind of tech-focused, companies. But what about the small to medium-sized, business could be in my same office building or any, down the street or in my corporate park? What would you advise for me to think about kind of that marketplace? Do I just simply, I don't know, do I put flyers under the door? Do I start knocking? Like how can I go about tackling the market around me?
Great question. So this will vary based on corporate culture in your city, because that is different. So I would recommend, like I said, do some research, check out some hiring pages on those companies in your building or of the different sizes. They might literally say on their website for talent, we do this with our team, we do a monthly team event. Boom, that's your in. They might say, every year we have a holiday celebration where we do something fun locally. That's your in. Like, discover what companies are already doing and find a way to plug in. And size doesn't matter. I'm telling you, some of the funnest companies that do the most experiential stuff together are the smallest ones, 10 people, and they're constantly doing fun things. Because in order to make it to the enterprise level, you've got to keep that culture, and you've got to stay excited about your work. And bonding together and learning together is a huge part of that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Arielle Fuller, thank you for your